Good evening. We're back with our series of election forums produced by the Long Beach Community Action Partnership with padnet.tv, your community media center and Long Beach's public access television station. I'm Matt Kaplan, back this time with candidates for the 7th District City Council seat in the city of Long Beach. That seat, of course, has been left open by James Johnson, who is running for city attorney. We are broadcasting live on Charter Channel 32 and Verizon Channel 41 in Long Beach and beyond. We're also streaming live at padnet.tv. That's where all of these forums are available as video on demand. Additional cablecast times are listed on our elections page at padnet.tv. We once again have just 1 hour for tonight's forum, and I'm sure that the candidates and our distinguished panelists would join me in encouraging you to learn more before the April 8th election. All we can hope to do tonight is to introduce you to these candidates and a couple of their stands on the issues facing the 7th District and our city. The candidates are going to introduce themselves in a moment. First, though, let's meet our three panelists. Each of them will have time to ask 2 questions, and we will maybe have a bonus question tonight from one of them. Each of the candidates will then have 1 strictly enforced minute to respond. The panelists are Brian Addison, Associate Editor for the Long Beach Post; Barbara Holbrook, Everything Long Beach; and John Royce, President of the California Heights Neighborhood Association. We'll begin by asking each of our candidates to make a 1-minute opening statement. And in this case, we will begin with Joan Greenwood on my immediate left. Joan?
Good evening, Long Beach. My name is Joan Greenwood. I've lived in the Wrigley District of Long Beach since 1986. I'm a businesswoman with over 43 years of experience in the private sector. I'm a community leader, and I'm a sustainable city commissioner. As a 7th District Council person, I want to build policies based on my experience, especially in the high-tech industries of the Silicon Valley. We need in this city a workforce that is ready, willing, and able to meet the demands of 21st century companies that we need to attract here in order to bring up our economy. This type of workforce is one that has strong needs to live in affordable housing, to be able to work, live, and play within 10 or 15 minutes of home. We are well on our way to achieving these goals, and I want to keep the progress moving forward, because without the right workforce, we won't succeed.
Thank you, Joan. We'll hear now from Tier Strickland.
Good evening, Long Beach. My name is Tier Strickland. I'm a resident of the Bixby Highlands neighborhood in the 7th District. I've been a resident of Long Beach since 1998 and a resident of the 7th District since 2003. I'm originally from Washington, D.C. I have a BS degree from Drexel University, and I received my master's degree in business administration from Marymount University. I'm a budget expert, having served with the public agencies of the federal government, Health and Human Services, and also with Housing and Urban Development. I've also worked for the nation's largest transportation planning agency here in Los Angeles, SCAG, or Southern California Association of Governments. So I'm very familiar with budgets, and my finance background, I think, will serve the district and the city well if I'm elected to City Council and have the honor of representing the district. I am also interested in continuing the mission of the Redevelopment Agency Board, of which I was a member from 2008 to 2012, until sadly we were dissolved. Our mission was always to create and enhance the quality of life for residents, and I'd like to continue to do so.
Thank you, Tier.
Thank you.
And the third and last of the candidates joining us this evening is Roberto Iranga.
Good evening. Buenas noches. My name is Roberto Iranga, and I'm a candidate for the 7th District. I've been a resident of Long Beach for 30 years, first living in the West Side and now living in Wrigley. Over the course of those 40 years or 30 years, I've been involved in many community organizations, including a number of nonprofits. I was a member of the board of the Red Cross, American Red Cross, the Centro Shalom, and I've been in a number of other community organizations throughout the city within the 7th District and without, including the West Side Long Beach Association and the Wrigley Association. I have a vision for Long Beach. I have a vision for Long Beach that includes safe neighborhoods, accessible businesses, and neighborhoods where people can come and walk their neighborhoods to eat, shop, and play with within their neighborhoods. We have a very diverse, the 7th District is the most diverse district in the city of Long Beach. And the next city council member who sits there is going to have to be knowledgeable about what those neighborhoods are, from north in the Bixby Knolls, Bixby Highlands area to south to west in West Long Beach. Thank you.
And thank you, Roberto. Okay. Candidates, the first of our panelists with a question for you is Brian Addison of the Long Beach Post. Brian?
Good evening, candidates. The west side of Long Beach is vastly deficient in park space compared to the east side, which averages about 16 acres per 1,000 residents, far above the 10 acres that is federally standard for a healthy city. The west side has a paltry 1 acre per 1,000 residents, or basically a football field. Only 4 of the 47 acres of the Willow Springs Park has been developed. How do you guys plan on pushing park development further to create a healthy 7th district?
And Joan Greenwood, you'll be the first to respond.
I have been working on the issues of parks and open space on the west side of Long Beach since 1995. I was a board member on Friends of the Los Angeles River. During that time was when the master plan came up for the LA River. I identified all the sites along the LA River in Long Beach that could potentially be opened up for open space. Willow Springs Park, we are moving forward with that as a regional park, but we need more local mini parks. I've been actively involved in our neighborhood groups. We developed a Kaboom Park on a green belt. Many of the Long Beach Riverlink elements are in place. We have 20 acres in Wrigley Heights that could potentially be a park that we lost out on. I work with our council people to form the Los Angeles and San Gabriel Rivers and Mountains Conservancy. I worked on their work plan to make sure all of the open space and parks in all of the city of Long Beach could be pursued. And again, this is through grants.
And I'll have to stop you there. Thank you very much, Joan. We'll now go to Barbara Holbrook of Everything Long Beach for the first of her 2, or possibly in her case 3 questions this evening. And answering first this time will be Tier Strickland. Barbara?
The ability to build alliances with fellow council members is an essential element in successfully representing your district. What experience do you bring in a way of building cooperative working alliances?
Well, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. One of the experiences that I've had that will lend itself to serving the city and serving my district is my ability to work with council members on the different projects that the redevelopment agency attempted to do throughout the city. Serving on the redevelopment agency allowed me to view the city through a prism that oftentimes people don't get to see, because I was involved in projects throughout the city in every district. So we were able to work with different council members, and we'd also work with city staff who allowed us to do what we like to do and work with the community and making sure that the projects that we were proposing were going to work well within their communities. So I envision that I will be using those skills, my collaborative skills, to work with the community, get community input and buy-in to whatever projects that the district needs. And I'll also leverage my relationships that I have already gotten in place with the city council and city staff.
And we'll have to stop you there. That minute is a very tight timeline.
It's very tight.
Thank you, Tier.
Thank you.
Lastly, Roberto Iranga.
Same question?
Yes, same question.
Oh, okay. Basically, I'm endorsed by many elected officials, including 2 current city council members in the Long Beach City Council, Al Austin and Steve Neal. My relationships with elected officials goes far and above beyond what any other of my candidates have here. I've worked with them, and including some of the candidates who are there now running for city office. I have long-time relationships with them as well. I think that once I get on the city council, I will have a long-standing relationship already built in. I will be able to work with them cooperatively and collegially to get things done for the city of Long Beach. It's about relationships with people that you establish that makes things work. And when you work together with people, you get things done. And I have that opportunity to do so with the current members, also with Janice Hahn in Congress, and with State Senator Ricardo Lara in the State Assembly, and with other members in the State Senate as well. So my relationships with elected officials goes well and beyond above.
Okay. Thank you very much, Roberto. And now, Joan Greenwood.
I've worked with many of the elected officials over the years on numerous transportation planning projects, both locally and regionally. As a member of a neighborhood group, Virtually every elected official has come to address our group. And as I say, I've developed very strong relationships in those positions which we need in this city. We are facing tremendous challenges as a region. The I-710 corridor is known as one which is working class and industrial. It will be transformed. I've worked with Hector de la Torre. I have worked with Congressman Alan Lowenthal. I have worked with many, many other elected officials, again, to improve the quality of life in our neighborhoods. On the City Council, I have also worked with most of the council people on projects and discussed with them on numerous occasions. But most importantly, I've been a project manager. And as a project manager, you have to take very diverse elements within an organization and get them to reach your goals.
Thank you very much, Joan. Thank you, candidates. The last of our panelists this evening is John Royce of the California Heights Neighborhood Association. And John, the first of the candidates to answer your question is Roberto.
Every new council member gets a crash course in what constituents want versus what they're willing to pay for. What systems might you consider to engage community members, associations, and organizations so they more clearly understand the challenges of meeting their needs and desires and allow them to help identify, prioritize, and even assist in their completion?
Long Beach is unique in very many different ways. It has a great number of neighborhood associations that are wonderful, that do a lot of great job in identifying what the important issues are for their neighborhoods. I would engage the neighborhood associations. There are a great number of associations here in the 7th District that are, in fact, the 7th District is the one that is probably the most active in terms of its neighborhood associations and working with the city. The Cal Heights, Wrigley, WANA, the Wrigley Area Neighborhood Alliance, and the West Long Beach Association, great associations that have a lot of great ideas and a lot of priorities and issues that they want to raise, and we can do that. I would like to bring them together, get a round table, let's talk about what the priorities are and work it together. There's a new system, there's a system being proposed calling budget, I lost the word for it. Anyway, it's a way of getting people together, look at the budget, look at priorities, see how much they're going to cost, and get a realistic evaluation of what it's going to really cost to fix those problems.
Thank you, Roberto.
Performance-based budgeting.
Whoop, whoop. I've been there, losing a word like that. Joan Greenwood, we're going to come back to this end, and you can respond to this question.
As the 7th District Council person, the first thing I would start with is a work plan for my own staff on how to bring the neighborhood resources into the planning process, especially young families and seniors. The neighborhood groups have done a tremendous job in this city, and we did it with the help of the Neighborhood Resource Center. And I see that their programs have been cut. They need to be reestablished. And I also believe that their neighborhood leadership program is excellent, but I would like to bring those new neighborhood leaders more into the existing operations, because that's how we prepared people to sit on commissions and provide services to the cities as volunteers. So really, I would like to get more people to work with the more experienced seniors, as we're now getting to be, and start taking over the leadership from us so that we can enjoy our golden years a little more. But definitely bringing more people into the process through the neighborhood groups.
And thank you, Joan. All right, candidates, it's now my turn to throw a question at you. And I'm asking once again on behalf of our host, the Long Beach Community Action Partnership, or LBCAP, one of Long Beach's most active and accomplished agencies working on behalf of the disadvantaged in our community. And Joan, we're going to start down at this end. You'll be the first to answer this one, Joan Greenwood. I would like to hear your vision for working with all sectors of the city, including those with low incomes.
That is a very good question. When I was growing up, I lived in a town very much like the 7th District, where we had a great deal of diversity, and we needed to bring everyone together in order to achieve our goals. So I have always worked with many different people, many different cultural backgrounds towards common goals. One of the good programs that the Long Beach Neighborhood partnership has done has been their connected corridors, and they've started one for Santa Fe Avenue. I would like to see it extended to include Willow and Pacific Coast Highway avenues, because many of those people are impacted also by what happens on the Santa Fe corridor connected. The other great programs that we have are through the villages at Cabrillo, where through social impact bonding and also social impact reporting, they have achieved remarkable success, and we need to duplicate that in other parts of the city.
And I only wish we had more time to address this, but thank you, Joan. Tier Strickland, it's your turn.
Yes, thank you. I believe that's a great question. One of the things that I would like to do is to bring our district together. I think we're not as connected as we could be, and we really need to be united as one district. One of the things that I would like to do is to establish a business council and a resident council. My goal is to be able to better assess what the needs are and the challenges are, and especially for those that are low income. I would like to have the resident council to be representative of all of our districts, because we are the most ethnically diverse and economically diverse district. And I would like to have representation on the resident council and the business council that reflects the district. Every neighborhood that we have in the district has different needs, and it's very difficult to make sure that we're able to address those needs with one broad brush. So I really think it's going to take assessing what the needs are. We've got lots of wonderful resources here in the city of Long Beach, lots of social services. I used to work for the United Way, so I've been on the front lines of understanding what's needed for serving our district, and I'm really looking forward to implementing what I've learned.
Thank you, Tier. And Roberto Iranga, you get the last shot at this one.
Well, one of the important issues that we are involved with is the fact that there's a little bit of a disconnect between the city and the schools, and the city and a lot of nonprofits organizations within the city. The schools is the most diverse in the state. The 7th district, certainly I mentioned earlier, is the most diverse in the city, and we need to recognize that, and we have to celebrate that. There was a time when we would have big celebrations at Admiral Kidd Park, big celebrations at Silverado Park and in Veterans Park. We need to be an inviting, create a welcoming environment to get individuals to not only come out to the parks, come out to the associations, but become active in the neighborhood associations, because that's where they are able to share their thoughts, to share their views, to share their issues, and to be able to address what they are working it together as a community.
Excellent. Thank you, candidates. You're doing a terrific job with our very tight little format here, and we will be back soon. After we take a 2-minute break, we will hear more from the candidates for Long Beach's 7th District City Council seat. This is a Long Beach Community Action Partnership Election Forum coming to you live on padnet.tv. Stay with us.
At the Long Beach Community Action Partnership, we're very proud of the millions of dollars that we provide in utility assistance services. And we're also proud of the thousands of people that we assist, including youth, adults, and seniors. But what we're most proud of are the relationships that we build one-on-one with people just like you to build a stronger community. Join us in changing lives and making a difference.
It's very pet friendly. Everybody has a dog in Long Beach. It's Dog City.
Well, there's everything to do here. You got the Pike, you got Queen Mary, you got the beaches, you got paddle boarding, surfing. You go half a mile that way, you got surfing, you got downtown.
I just think it's the most incredible, most beautiful, most unique city, which has so much to offer. So I love it here and I'll never leave.
Welcome back to Long Beach Community Action Partnership and PadNet Candidate Forum for the 7th Council District in Long Beach. We are live on Charter Channel 32 and Verizon Channel 41 in Long Beach and streaming at padnet.tv. This is the 5th of these forums that LBCAP and Padnet will present as we head toward the April 8th election. We will be back next week on Wednesday, March 12th at 7 p.m. with a forum featuring the 9th Council District. And then we'll finish this series when we welcome back for a second visit the candidates for mayor of Long Beach. That'll be on April 2nd. You can look for these forums as video-on-demand events at padnet.tv. They will also be replayed on Charter and Verizon several times before the election. The schedule for those replays is also at padnet.tv on our elections page. And then you can stick around with Padnet if you're there already to check out some of the other great programming on Long Beach's own TV station. Now we're going to go back to Brian Addison because, but not for his second question, but because I screwed up, as you folks know, but I did not notice, that when Brian asked his first question, I jumped right on from Joan Greenwood to Barbara Holbrook's question. So Brian, if you would, repeat that question, and we're going to give Tier Strickland and Roberto Aranga a chance to answer it, and I apologize to all of you.
I'll happily repeat it, thank you. The west side is vastly deficient in park space compared to the east side, which has about 16.7 acres per 1,000 residents. The west side has about 1 acre per 1,000 residents, or about a football field. The 47 acres of the proposed Willow Springs Park only has 4 acres developed. Given the lack of funds for park and recs and the dissolvement of the RDA, how do you guys plan on increasing park space for the 7th District?
Well, that's a great question. Park space is very important in the city of Long Beach. It's one of the reasons that my husband and I moved and stayed in Long Beach because of the park system. And as we know, it's regularly winning awards around the nation for our park system. So I think we have to get creative. Not having the tools of the redevelopment agency anymore certainly hurts us, but we have to get creative in terms of where we can use open space. So there are vacant parcels around the city that I think we need to look harder and find out where can we do mini pocket parks so that we can expand our park system. It's very important for our youth to have places to play. Our kids have safe places to play, and that keeps them busy and doing wonderful things. So I think we really need to get creative and look at how can we utilize some of our vacant parcels. Certainly the redevelopment agency has parcels that we are going to be working through to find the best use for them. Perhaps there's some opportunities there.
Thank you, Chair. And Roberto Aranga.
Well, there's no question that the West Long Beach area has been deficient in park space, and some of the monies that were redirected from the Willow Springs Park to the bowl to develop the stadium down there was certainly a big hit on that Willow Springs area, and much more could have been developed had the money stayed there. However, having said that, I think that it's important for us to look at, there's going to be some other economic development growth in Long Beach. I think that we need to look at new businesses and new developments that come in to apportion part of their funds, part of their money towards parks. We should be creative in that sense, in that we can build our stock of land and our opportunity to develop some of that land into some parks with the assistance of some developers who come here. If they want to build here, you're going to have to basically donate into a pool, perhaps, of money that would be used towards developing green space, or in that development to create some green space in there. I mean, we have to be creative. It's a new world where budgets are very tight and we need more money.
And thank you, Roberto. Okay, we are back on track, but what we're going to do now is begin our second round. Brian, you'll get your shot, I promise. But we're going to move on to Barbara Holbrook. And Barbara, your question will first be answered by Joan Greenwood.
Okay. Throughout the campaign, you've met many people within and throughout the district. What one concern has consistently been brought to your attention? And if elected, what would be your first steps to fix it?
Joan?
That is a very good question. People are most concerned about the infrastructure improvements. We hear about sidewalks and roads needing to be fixed. We hear about tree trimming. And one that I often hear from across the district is people speeding through neighborhood streets. Addressing those issues typically falls upon the field staff. We do have some programs in place to address these issues, but most of the people I talk to aren't aware of them. But we've reached the conclusion that it is probably the dips in the streets and stop signs that are the best approach for slowing down traffic through the neighborhood and making them safer. I did see at the Villages at Cabrillo, they have a speed bump, very bumpy thing that you can just kind of screw into the street rather than having to create those large bumps that people just drive over, and that seemed to slow the traffic also. But those seem to be the greatest concerns when you walk door to door.
Thank you, Joan. Tier Strickland.
Let's see, the greatest concerns that I'm finding as I'm going door to door certainly have to do with the infrastructure, as my opponent said. But I'm hearing more from the standpoint of getting our streets paved and certainly getting our sidewalks repaired. Sidewalk repair is critical in this city because it affects the health and welfare of our residents and our kids, so and certainly our seniors that walk along the sidewalk. So it's very important that we allocate some money to getting those things repaired. That leaves the city vulnerable to any lawsuits if someone should get hurt by falling on a sidewalk or get hurt in the street. One of the things that I believe in the 7th District, we do have $521,000, I believe, to use for sidewalk repair. Just to do one block, believe it or not, costs about $20,000. So it's very hard to get a lot done on such a small budget and with such an exorbitant cost. So we've got to prioritize and find out where the greatest needs are. But certainly that is tops in the district.
Thank you, Tier. Roberto Arana.
Well, from the northernmost corner of the district to the westernmost corner of the district, in talking to residents, it's always been about crime. There's been a bump in burglaries and in-house invasions. A lot of the reports come from people who have alleys that abut their properties, and people coming in through the alleys and breaking into homes and stealing and robbing. My daughter was a victim of a break-in. Certainly my neighbor was one. So I think what the most important right now, I think it's public safety, getting more patrols out in the streets, being more cognizant of where the crime is happening. And we need to reestablish a neighborhood watch type of program where we get neighbors to assist each other and take care of their neighborhoods, to report when there's suspicious behavior going around, whether it's in an alley or in the street. That's what I'm feeling more. In addition to infrastructure type things as well.
Thank you, Roberto. All right, we're going to move on now to John. And John Royce, your first question is going to go to, or the first to respond to your question is going to be Tier Strickland.
Historic districts have proven an effective tool to both protect older neighborhoods from decline and spur recovery. While the ordinance governing our historic districts remains in place, budget cuts have severely impacted dedicated staffing and enforcement resources. How familiar are you with our historic district ordinance, and what changes, if any, would you seek to ensure that our ordinance remains a viable and effective tool to combat incremental destruction?
Thank you, Mr. Royce. That's a great question. I love the Cal Heights neighborhood, and I have always been a fan of your ability to enforce the ordinance and keep the neighborhood intact in terms of being true to historic preservation. However, like everything in the city, absolutely we have had to suffer budget cuts. What I would like to see is if we have available resources in terms of our discretionary funding, I think we need to definitely allocate some funds so that we can make sure that we are preserving the ordinance there. It's very important that people that are moving into that area and that currently live there are able to take confidence in knowing that their property values will be protected because we are enforcing and upholding the ordinance. So I would like to see if we could perhaps establish some type of a committee or a group that can come together and let's figure out how we can get some dollars allocated so that we can preserve, because that's a very important neighborhood.
Chair, I'll have to stop you there.
That's a very important neighborhood.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Roberto Arana.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Councilmember Jerry Shifsky brought up this very issue on a specific act, the Mills Act, I think it was, that basically provided some tax breaks for individuals who live in historic districts to rebuild their homes and maybe lower their mortgage or provide them with other assistance so that they could help maintain their homes in compliance with whatever the ordinance is for that area. We have great historic districts in the Cal Heights area. We have one in the Wrigley area of Eucalyptus and Magnolia. Wonderful homes that are there that have fallen, some of them have fallen into disrepair because they haven't gotten the assistance. I think that Jerry Shifsky's proposal to bring it back and send it to the city attorney for review and to come back with something that's going to be workable.
All right, thank you. And Joan Greenwood, you'll be the last to respond to this one.
As a Sustainable City Commissioner, I am very much interested in looking at our neighborhoods and repurposing buildings rather than tearing them down. This gets back to code enforcement. And what happens with many of these properties, they're allowed to deteriorate to the point that it's no longer economically feasible to remodel them and reuse them. This also happens in situations like even the down at 2nd Street and PCH, that hotel used to be one of the best ones in the city. I used to stay there in the 70s. But again, it was allowed to deteriorate. So I think one thing we need to do is look at our code enforcement and make sure we don't let these properties, like the Art Theater in North Long Beach, get to the point where they are eyesores in the neighborhood. It means keeping after the owners of the property and perhaps looking at our code enforcement approaches and catching these problems and helping these homeowners before the property goes too far.
All right, thank you very much. Brian, we're going to come back to you now, and now you'll get that opportunity to ask your second question of the candidates. And Joan, I think you're the first to respond.
Many in Long Beach are against rail giant BNSF's Southern California International Gateway, or what is commonly called SCIG. However, it was probably single-handedly James Johnson who led that charge when he decided to override the Port of LA and BNSF's lack of having meetings in Long Beach, the community that's vastly affected by SCIG. How do you plan, if you become council member, to balance the juggling act that is dealing with economic industrial powerhouses yet standing up for your marginalized constituents?
I have been very actively involved in the issue of the SCIG project here in Long Beach. In fact, I was one of the ones who briefed James Johnson on it while he was running for city council. The SCIG rail yard project is one in which there is now a CEQA lawsuit, there is an environmental lawsuit, many lawsuits centering around it. That is the approach that is generally taken to dealing with a large industrial entity like BNSF. However, all those mitigation that was not done, the fact that our mayor and our councilperson were not listened to by the Board of Harbor Commissioners in LA, with that being said, there's another reason for being against that particular project. Our ports need to be the most competitive on the West Coast, and near dock rail is not the way to make them more competitive. There's extra work in loading cargo from a ship to a truck to a rail yard. We need to look forward. We need to look outside the box. We need to get one lift from the cargo to the rail.
Thank you, Joan. Tier Strickland.
Yes, that is a hot button topic for the West Side, certainly. I am not in favor of the SCIG project as it is proposed currently, and I am in favor of the current lawsuit. We have 7 of the schools in our district that are on the West Side. The health and welfare and safety of the residents, our children, our seniors, our families, to me are paramount over any profit of any type of project. So I am definitely adamantly against the project as it stands currently, and I certainly think that if we're looking to move our district forward, we have to align ourselves with the residents, because at the end of the day, we certainly want to protect the environment, and everybody on the West Side has the right to have a high quality of life as some of the other neighborhoods in the district. And the West Side certainly does not have that at the moment. and I want to protect their quality of life there. And if that means staying in opposition to the SCIG project as it is proposed, then I will continue to do so.
Thank you, Chair. Roberto Uranga.
I am totally in favor of dock rail project. However, unfortunately, that is not what's being proposed. I also believe that the job of the city council, and me as a city council member in that district, is to look after the good and welfare of the neighborhoods and the good and welfare of the kids who go to schools in the nearby project area. And we need to have a project that's not going to add to the pollution and add to the noise and add to the lighting that the west area has already experienced. So I support the lawsuit that the city has gone into. I believe they went into it because they thought that they could mitigate some of those issues. However, it's out of our hands at this point. It's in the courts. The courts will decide what the project is going to look like. If the courts say it should be gone, then let's be gone and let's regroup and try it again and do something else. But in the meantime, trucks continue to congest our freeways and pollution keeps going into the air. We need to come to a resolution on this fairly quickly.
All right. Candidates, we've reached the last question that will be addressed to you this evening, and this one will once again come from me. We all know that the budget limits what city government can accomplish in our community and any community. How would you reach out to local nonprofits to collaborate in providing needed services? And Tier Strickland, you'll be the first to respond.
That's a great question as well. Thank you. You know, we have lots of wonderful nonprofits who are doing great work here in the city. And one of the things that I would like to do on the City Council is to make sure that we can adequately promote the nonprofits that we have and come up with some type of a mechanism where we can make sure that our needs of the residents are being met and they know what resources are available to them. One of the things that I always found when I was working for the United Way is we would go out and we would be able to share and promote the resources that were in the community of Los Angeles and Long Beach, but oftentimes, unfortunately, a lot of the residents that we had that were in need didn't know about some of the programs that were available. So I think we have to do twofold. My plan would be to better promote the programs that we do have here. We have a terrible problem with homelessness among families. We have a terrible problem with homelessness among our veterans. So we need to better align the resources that we've got here with the nonprofits and make sure that residents are aware of everything we have to offer.
Thank you, Chair. Roberto Uranga.
There's no question that we need to support and engage our nonprofits in our budgeting process. We need to be more receptive to offering our facilities for them. We have to have staff more engaged and provide them with the ability to participate with the nonprofits. And nonprofits need to be at the table when it comes to projects that they might want to see the city adopt and pursue. We need to be more receptive, of the nonprofit world and engage them more with the city because we don't have enough of that. I mean, we have nonprofits there that are struggling, that are need more support from the city resources, and I think what we need to be is more receptive to them, bring them to the table, let's talk, and let's help us provide the needed services for our communities.
Thank you, Roberto. And now we'll come back down to this end, and Joan Greenwood.
I believe that we have some of the most wonderful nonprofits in the world here in Long Beach. They have done an incredible job and we have tremendous programs. But as I sit here and listen to the answers to many of the questions, I hear people saying, well, we need a program to do this. We need another council. We need something more. No, we know that the nonprofits are able to do as much as they do because they run on volunteer power. What we have to do is encourage people to volunteer, especially seniors. We're living longer, we have better health. I was talking with my sister who's volunteered to work with AARP, and she found out she can save my mother $3,000 a year in tax refunds. Many seniors didn't know about the program. So here again, she took her private sector experience. We also know in motivating volunteers, I found out there are cities where if you volunteer to help the city out at times of crunch, like when they're preparing their financials and you're an accountant, they will give you a $500 tax credit on your property tax. So again, we've got the programs, we need to think outside the box, and we need to consolidate the efforts.
And thank you, Joan. Now, we were going to go into our bonus round now because we find ourselves with a few extra minutes, and I should explain that all of the candidates for the 7th District seat were invited, but it was the three of you who joined us this evening, and that means we do have a few extra minutes. But before we do that, I've been told that we need to take a quick break, so when we come back, we will have another question, or perhaps two, for the three candidates who've joined us to talk about the race for the 7th District Council seat. Thanks very much, and stay with us.
At the Long Beach Community Action Partnership, we're very proud of the millions of dollars that we provide in utility assistance services. And we're also proud of the thousands of people that we assist, including youth, adults, and seniors. But what we're most proud of are the relationships that we build one-on-one with people just like you to build a stronger community. Join us in changing lives and making a difference.
It's very pet friendly. Everybody has a dog in Long Beach. It's Dog City.
Well, there's everything to do here. You got the Pike, you got Queen Mary, you got the beaches, you got paddle boarding, surfing. You go half a mile that way, you got surfing, you got downtown.
I just think it's the most incredible, most beautiful, most unique city, which has so much to offer. So I love it here and I'll never leave.
Welcome back to this forum with three of the candidates for the 7th District seat here in the city of Long Beach. We are into what I called a moment ago our bonus round, and I think I'm going to stick with that. We still have coming up the closing statements from the three candidates who've joined us. But first, let's go to an additional question from two of our panelists here. We're going to go first to Barbara Holbrook. And Barbara, if you would ask your question first of Roberto Uranga.
One of the shared concerns is the belief that people have that Long Beach City Council is only used as a stepping stone to get to state office. While having other career aspirations is not a negative, what can you say to constituents to make them feel at ease that you plan to stay and serve the district?
Well, as many know, I'm an elected official right now. I'm a member of the Board of Trustees at Long Beach City College, and I've been a Board of Trustees member for 14 years. So it's only now, after 14 years, that I've decided to run for this race because it's an open seat, and my next election for trustee won't be until 2016. So it shows consistency that I complete what I started. The projects that we have at Long Beach City College are doing great. The college is doing wonderfully. It's nationally renowned. I think that I've accomplished many of the things that I wanted to at Long Beach City College. It's time for me to move on. Now, will I move on from there to another seat? No, I'm getting too old for this kind of thing. And City Council is where I feel comfortable. It's serving my community. This is where I want to be. This is where I've been for the last 40 years. And that's basically it for me right now.
Thank you, Roberto. We'll bring it back down to this end, and Joan Greenwood.
I too am only interested in pursuing the office of the 7th District City Council person. This year is my normal retirement age from the private sector, and I would like to serve for 8 years on the City Council to complete the projects that I began 15 years ago. Within the planning process and implementation process of any city, I find it's about a 20-year cycle. So between Riverlink, the projects with the Rivers and Mountains Conservancy, and more importantly, the I-710. I've been following the I-710 since early 2000, and we are now back at the beginning. The EIR that was released is being taken back. They're doing a new EIR with new alternatives, And I would like to see the I-710 sewn up and ready for us to improve regional transportation in my lifetime, and I'm willing to devote the next 8 years to that purpose, and then finally enjoy my retirement and volunteerism.
Thank you, Joan. Chair Strickland.
Thank you. I love that question because I want to run and be able to be elected and have the honor of serving the 7th District. And I have a plan in place, and that plan will take beyond 4 years. So if I am elected, I intend on serving my entire 4-year term and get the honor, hopefully, of being reelected for another 4 years. My plan includes making sure that we have safe neighborhoods, that we're able to take care of all of the infrastructure needs of the resident. And I have a vision of economic development and making sure that our business corridors are flourishing, making sure that we can add some of that open space for pocket parks that are so sorely needed in our district. So those things take time to implement your plan. Things don't move at lightning quick speed at City Hall. So I would love the honor of being able to serve for 4 years and to be able to implement the plan and get the vision that I know the residents want in terms of quality of life.
And thank you very much, Chair. We are, I'm sorry, we did go through all three of you. Sorry about that. Been thrown off a little bit by the lack of one of our candidates this evening, but that's my problem. Now, we had a coin toss during the break, and I'm sorry to say, Brian, that you lost that coin toss, which means that the last of our questions is going to come from John Royce of the California Heights Neighborhood Association, and that question will be answered first by Joan Greenwood.
Sorry for Brian, but happy for me, I hope. This question that I'm going to ask now, I think, is becoming more timely as I'll go ahead. Let's see. As consumer shopping habits change with volume discounters and internet shopping, we're already seeing an increasing number of empty big box grocery stores, for instance. How might that affect the viability of existing local business corridors, and how would you address the need to accommodate a shift in land use? What types of alternative uses might you consider?
That is a very good question, John, and one that has puzzled many people in this city for many, many, many years. We have seen a tremendous shift in consumerism away from the local small business. But by the same token, among the young, we're seeing their entrepreneurial spirit in bringing new green businesses to Long Beach. If we look at the 4th Street Arts District, tremendous vibrancy there. And I believe we can duplicate that same energy along the Willow Street corridor by repurposing those old businesses. The large big box buildings that are now sitting empty, again, can be repurposed. My elementary school that I attended as a child has been repurposed as a senior center. So again, I think we need to go back in and rethink this and rethink the type of structures we are building for people who want to become homeowners, who want to go to self-sufficiency, much like they did on the East Coast with a different style of structure.
Thank you very much. All right, that ends what I've called the bonus round, but we do have, I'm sorry, that's my mistake. Sorry about that. Chair Strickland.
Thank you. I love that question because we are a city that has lots of wonderful qualities, and I think we've got challenges, but I think we've got some wonderful opportunities ahead of us. And I would like to see us use those spaces in a more creative way. If we're not able to use them as retail, let's see how we can attract businesses so that we can start growing and achieving some of our economic development goals. We can certainly use some of the spaces that are vacant for art galleries. We can certainly use some of those spaces to turn them into medical centers. Let's see what technology companies we can attract here. So I think there are many, many opportunities that we can do with some of the spaces that we have. One of the things that I would like to do is, obviously, with my Economic Development Council, sit down with some of the property owners, sit down with some of the businesses that are looking to come into Long Beach and see how we can make the needs work for them. And also, we're not abandoning retail, but let's see how we can make it work for economic development as a whole for retail and for businesses.
Okay, and I'm sorry that I almost cut you off there. Now we've completed. No. Oh, I'm really sorry. I must be in need of sleep or something. I thought that we began, that John's question went to you initially, but it didn't. It went to Joan. Yeah. Sorry about that, Roberto. Please, go ahead.
That's quite all right. I can know the confusion with one less candidate at the table here. Basically, small businesses are the backbone of our economy, is the backbone of our country. Big box industries, big businesses like your Chase and your JP Morgans, they serve a purpose. But it's the small business owners, the ones that are the backbone of our economy. They do local hiring, they provide local services and goods. They're the ones that that drive it. We talked earlier about our business corridors. I want to develop those. I don't want to see an empty storefront in any of those corridors. And I would strongly encourage people who are interested in opening a business to go to Long Beach City College and go into our 10,000 business, the Goldman Sachs 10,000 business program, where they can learn about how to start a business, the types of businesses that work, and how to manage their business plan, and how to manage their human resources, because that's where the growth will be in small businesses.
And thank you. Now, we are running short of time, but we're going to get in those closing statements and give each one of our candidates one more minute for that statement. And in this case, we're going to come back down to this end and begin with you, Joan Greenwood.
Well, I want to thank all of our audience who's viewing this on television and showing an interest in this race. I would be very proud to be elected to the 7th District Council office. I have been working towards that goal for many, many years, although I didn't know it, as I worked in my neighborhood on many, many community building projects that volunteers put on for the young children and the young families in our neighborhood. I know the power of our volunteer effort and our strong neighborhoods. I want to continue that. But even more so, I want to be a voice for the people who have not had any voice. And they may be living up in Bixby Highlands. They may be a senior worried about their quality of care in convalescent homes. There are many, many, many voices in the city that aren't heard. I have always reached out to those voices, and I will continue to do so. And the way you achieve your goals is by having a plan and working the plan and making certain that the resources are there for the people who need them, and we use those resources wisely.
Thank you very much, Joan. Tier Strickland.
Yes, thank you, citizens of Long Beach, for tuning in and taking part in what is proving to be a wonderful night to learn about the candidates who are interviewing for the job to run the 7th District on your behalf. One of the things that I offer the community is my budget expertise, my financial background, and my experience working on the redevelopment agency to get projects done throughout the city and to work collaboratively with our city council members, with city staff, and with our community residents in terms of making sure that the projects are what they want to see and what they envision for their districts and for their part of the neighborhood. One of the things that I've got in mind is I do have a plan, and I want to make sure that we've got those flourishing business corridors. We've got wonderful opportunities. We're centrally located. We have a world-class port. We've got to take advantage of all the tools that we've got. We've got programs that are offered by Long Beach City College. We've also got programs that are offered by the City of Long Beach, and we need our business entrepreneurs to take advantage of all of those.
Thank you, Tier. And our last closing statement will come from Roberto Iranga.
I have over 4 decades of community activism in the city of Long Beach, starting in the 80s when I was involved with getting our Head Start program going from a private nonprofit to the Long Beach Unified School District. I worked with the NAACP and the United Cambodian Community Centers to create more opportunities and to unite for our young people, to get them jobs. I've worked with the Red Cross and United Way in dispersing funds to help nonprofits provide more services. And during the course of my trusteeship with Long Beach, I also served as national chair of the Association of Community College Trustees, an honor bestowed upon me by my colleagues from around the country. I'm the only candidate here who has that kind of experience, who once he opens his door to the 7th District City Council office can hit the road running. I would love to have your vote. Please vote for Roberto Uranga on April 8th.
All right. Thank you very much, candidates and panelists. We're also very grateful for your service to the Long Beach community tonight and always. We also want to once again thank RD&M Design and Marketing for their generous underwriting donation that backs this series. And thanks also to Babette's Bakery, which has provided a great meal for our production crew this evening that they're looking forward to getting to in a moment or two here. You or your organization can also underwrite this work and be thanked on the air. Visit our elections page at padnet.tv to learn more. Last but not least, my personal thanks to our almost entirely volunteer crew here at Padnet. One more reminder that this forum will be available as video on demand and will be replayed on Charter Channel 32 and Verizon Fios Channel 41 throughout the election season. The online videos and the broadcast schedule are at padnet.tv. I hope you'll join us again when we meet the candidates in City Council District 9. That'll be on Wednesday, March 12th at 7 p.m. Our second and final mayoral candidate forum will take place on April 2nd. That's just 6 days before Long Beach goes to the polls. Thanks for watching and for helping to shape the future of our great city.